Hi, I'm Brett Peterson, the Business Rogue, and today we're going to talk about why people should buy from you. If this is your first time here, please give us a like and subscription so we can kind of show up in the search algorithms. There's a button here somewhere, and you want to hit the notification bell too so you see when these videos come up. Okay, in the past couple of videos, we've talked about three things you need when you start a business, three things you need to have clear in your mind. First, what are you selling? What's your product or service? Second, who are your customers? What's your customer segment? The third one we haven't talked about yet, and we're going to talk about that today, and that is, what job are you doing for those people? Or in other words, why should people buy from you? By the end of this video, you should have a clear understanding of how to figure out for your product why people should buy from you, why should they care, right? What job are you fulfilling for your customer segment? Ready? Let's get started. The initial example I gave 2 weeks ago, I think, was from a study from Clayton Christensen's Innovator Solution. And that was about a company that serves milkshakes in the morning to commuters. Driving to work is boring in a commute. And so people would buy a milkshake as a breakfast replacement, and they wanted it to help them keep them up. And they found that the problem with milkshakes originally was, as you start drinking them, you drink them really fast. If you're bored, especially, you drink them really fast. And so when they added little bits of fruit and little bits of candy, made it a little bit thicker, still able to be slurped up with a straw using one hand, because that was something else they figured out. People needed to be able to eat something with one hand while they're driving with the other. But made it more interesting so it would last the length of the commute to finish drinking that shake. And so it was more of a puzzle, kept people awake longer. Did the job that commuters were hiring for it better? What you need to know is, what job are your customers, or do you think your customers are going to use your product for? So we've given an example last week about a pancake restaurant where you're serving, I think we talked about like ethnic flatbreads from Eastern Europe, right? So you're doing Russian potato pancakes or whatever, right? What job are Eastern European immigrants in the United States filling by buying, potato pancakes from you? In that particular role, they might be filling the job of nostalgia. They want something that tastes like home without having the trouble of making it. They might be filling something like they want a festival food. They want a festival food, and so potato pancakes are associated with some feast day or religious ceremony or birthday party or whatever. Maybe they're hiring you for that job. I don't know. One of the reasons I don't have a potato pancake restaurant is I haven't figured that out, right? So whatever it is for your product, you need to figure out, okay, here's my customer segment, that specific group we talked about last week. Now, what are they trying to do? You're saying, well, Brett, that was just restating the problem. That doesn't help me much. Here is how it will help you. Here are some ways you can get to that information. The first is watching your customers as they're doing other things. So, for example, let's say that you are a toy company and you're making kind of a fantasy version of G.I. Joes for boys between the ages of 3 and 10 to play with in little games on the carpet, right? Look at how your customers, parents who are buying these toys, use your competitors' products. This is one way you can talk about it, is look at your competitors' products and figure out what jobs those are doing. The toys are helping kids have imaginary play, right? Express their imagination. They're helping little children be quiet while parents are trying to do work here in lockdown. Also, while parents are at home, they're helping children have something to do in the car. Right? There's different niches of those action figures for any of those different things. Some toys are tied to TV shows, and so it's letting the kid be more immersed in the TV show and their favorite stories and entertainment. Pokemon falls in this craze, right? Pokemon action figures help the kid feel like they're more in the video game and the TV show. Okay, so those are different kinds of action figures. So first, look at how your competitor products are being used, and then here's the important part. Look at what the competitor products aren't doing well. Board games are great for pulling people together and having kids be engaged and have fun at home. They are exceedingly poor at doing that on the road. That is one thing that video games, like the Game Boy, that niche fits in really well. One of the things that Game Boys were often used, at least when I was growing up, were for road trips. On a long drive, you'd break out the Game Boy. And then looking at the Game Boy, one of the things the Game Boy didn't do well was playing games in the dark. It didn't have a backlit screen. The original one didn't have a backlit screen. And so the Sega Game Gear tried to iterate on that and have a backlit screen so that you could play it at night while your parents were driving, right? Nintendo accessory people then came up with the idea, hey, let's just have a little magnifying glass and a clip that has lights on it so then you can play in the dark without the backlit Game Boy, and it's still cheaper than Game Gear. So that it competes that way, right? But those were all successful products. The Nintendo Game Boy, the Game Gear was a mostly successful product. Sega had a troubled history with hardware. But then also the little clip with lights that clipped onto a Game Boy that made it have a backlight, essentially. They were fulfilling the job of keeping kids entertained on a road trip. Second, and probably best, talk to your customers. Talk to your potential customers. So if you haven't started your business yet, you don't know what your competitor products are, you don't know why people would be interested, go talk to your potential customers. Literally, get a piece of paper and a pencil, get a notebook and a pen, walk up to them and say, I'm thinking about starting a European pancake shop down the road. I want to serve the Ukrainian immigrant population here in our neighborhood. Can I talk to you a little bit? I'm doing this because I'm from Ukraine myself, or my grandparents were from Ukraine, and I want to connect to my roots. Can I talk to you for a couple minutes? And most people will say either, yeah, sure, or no, not interested. If they're not interested, great, let them go by. That's fine. It's also a clue that whatever you're pitching, whatever you're trying to talk to them about, is not super interesting to them. So that's information too. They've already given you a little bit of a warning that, hey, maybe this isn't even worth my time. But when you get to talk to people, ask them, hey, what do you go to restaurants for? What are you looking for in a restaurant? If I were to start a Ukrainian restaurant, what were you looking for in a Ukrainian restaurant? Right? You can't ask them, what kind of restaurant should I start? Or, what would be the best business for me to start? They won't know that. They can't do the work for you. But what you can ask people to do, your customers to do, is validate your suspicions. So like, hey, I think there's a market for Eastern Orthodox Russian foods that go along with specific feast days in winter. And I want to do a catering business that only operates in the winter season, where we go and make these traditional Russian and Eastern Orthodox dishes and deliver them to people's holiday celebrations that tie to Eastern Orthodox Christian church. Go talk to Eastern Orthodox people, right? People who are practicing members of the Eastern Orthodox Christian faith. See if they have holidays. See which countries have different days. What countries have associated foods. Some of this you should do before you talk to your customers, right? If you can get it out of a magazine or out of an encyclopedia or off of Wikipedia or online, do your homework first. Don't waste people's time. But you can then come to them and say, hey, I see that there are these 4 holidays that are really important in Slovenia, right? There's a large Slovenian population nearby. I'm looking for Slovenian Eastern Orthodox people to ask about these 4 holidays. I'm thinking about starting a catering business making these 4 traditional foods. Would that be interesting? Yeah, why or why not? What foods should I have on the list, right? In that kind of conversation, you might find out that as part of the holiday, it's really important that the family makes their own food. Your catering business, that's not the right people to sell a catering business to then. If that's an important part of the meal, you can't cater it out. Sometimes you'll hit blocks. But that's okay. You're just starting your business. You haven't spent a lot of time and money on it. You just talked to some people and done some homework online. You're down maybe 2 hours, right? Not 20 grand. So maybe you pivot your business to that point and say, hey, the job to be done isn't delivering prepared food. The job to be done is sourcing all the ingredients from Ukraine, from Slovenia, and bringing them to people of Slovenian heritage to sell, right? Maybe you start an import business instead of a catering business. That's a great pivot. That's a great thing to do. But you find that out by asking your customers what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. Some examples of jobs to be done that I really like are, nobody needs a hammer. They need a hole in the wall. Or they need a nail in the wall, right? I actually like to take that a step further. Nobody needs a nail in the wall. They want a picture up on the wall. To that point, 3M figured this out, right? 3M have these little glue stick hook things that you put on the wall and you pull a little tab and it's glued to the wall. And then if you need to remove it, it won't strip off your paint. That essentially is competing with a hammer and nail, or a screwdriver and a screw, or a drill and a screw. Because 3M figured out the job that this is doing is hanging stuff up. And that's a job that people need to do fairly often. One other thing you need to talk about with jobs to be done is, how important is this job? How often does it need to be done? We keep going back to that milkshake example. One of the reasons that fast food company could make a lot of money at the milkshakes was that people used to drive to work every day. So every day you had commuters who needed breakfast, needed to stay awake, were super bored. It was a regular thing. So a lot of people had a small need for this. You could also have a business where a few people have a very large need. This is one, for example, some luxury items or luxury upgrades. Not everybody needs teak flooring, right? So you can sell teak to that crowd at a very high price. Big job for a few people, or you do a small job for a lot of people, often. So ask these questions. How big is the job? How often does it need to be done? And how important is that job? Look at your competitor products. See what they're doing. And then find a job that's not being done very well by your competitors. Second, talk to your customers. after you've done homework online. So do your homework before you bother anybody. See if they're interested. Why is that important to you? Oh, I'm really excited that you want to pay me. Yes, I'll take your pre-order. That's fantastic. And that's the sign you're looking for, by the way. We'll talk more about that in another video. But why is that so thrilling? Why is that so exciting? Without my product, what are you doing now? Figure out what they're doing currently. What are you competing with, right? And then how can you be better than that? My challenge to you this week is as follows. Last week, you were supposed to come up with 3 potential customer segments. I want you to pick one of those customer segments that you've already worked on. And if you haven't worked on that, go back to the previous video. We'll try to link it in a card here somewhere, this area. Pick a customer segment that you came up with last week. Think through the job they're trying to do with your product. And then do some research online. See if that holds. See if your assumptions about that even make sense at top level. Next, go see what your competitors' products are doing. How are people using other products in the same space? And where are their gaps? Where are the things you can do better? Third, go talk to 20 potential customers. I'm asking you to stretch a little bit, but I'll tell you, when I work with teams from the National Science Foundation or work with startups, I actually ask them to go talk to 38, and if they're really serious, I have them go talk to 100 to 200. So 20 is a good start. That's not enough, but it's a good start, right? This week, go talk to 20 different people, 20 different customers in your segment, and see if what you're thinking is real, right? Take notes and figure out, are you on the right track or not? Is there something that would be better? This adds to this is the third component of that crucial list. What am I selling? Who am I selling it to? Why should they care? What job are they doing with it? Thanks for sticking with us this far. If you've liked this video, please hit subscribe and hit the like button so we can, again, get shown on the algorithm. It really does help, so I appreciate it if you would click that for us. Also, leave a comment in the description if you're enjoying this. If you have specific business needs for your own company, post it and we'll try to respond, right? In the meantime, good luck starting that business. We'll see you next time.